Hi there. So we're going to look at a 9-mark question, which is explain how an individual could use the principles of training to develop their cardiovascular endurance over a 6-week period in preparation for a 10k race. So we're talking about an individual here who's got good general fitness. Okay, they may do a little bit of running, and the most amount of running they may have done, or the distance-wise, maybe 5k, but they're looking at doing a 10k as a personal goal, or they may be doing a charity event, but it's someone here who's got general fitness. So it's not somebody who's kind of never ran before. They've got general fitness, and they're looking to challenge themselves over the 6-week period to try and get the best time they possibly can. Now, just before we start, we need to look at some key areas of the question here, which are these, which I'm going to highlight. So it's an explain question. Okay, so we need to make sure that we are giving reasons for our answer. We need to ensure that the word because is in our answer, or the reasons for this is or are, and we need to be able to provide examples where possible. Secondly, we need to ensure we know what the principles of training are. Okay, so what are the principles of training? As you can see here, I've just highlighted some key things here, which is, firstly, it's specificity, which is making sure that the training is specific to the individual, matching the needs of what is required. So in this instance, it would be to improve stamina. Okay, so ensure that the training which they do is based on developing stamina. So obviously, you're doing a 10k race, you'll be using running as your training type. Secondly, we need to look at the word here, which is cardiovascular endurance, otherwise known as stamina. Okay, so we need to consider that how does the training we are going to do improve our cardiovascular endurance. So we need to have knowledge of anatomy and physiology. Also, we need to look here, which is it's a 6-week period. All right, so you're doing over 6 weeks in preparation for a 10k race. All right, so 6 weeks being obviously 42 days, so you have got plenty of time to include your training within there. There might be rest periods within there, but basically what you need to look at in this, how are you going to write about the principles of training in relation to improving your cardiovascular endurance over a 6-week period? I'm just going to show you on the next page how I would go about that. Okay, so again, we've got the question to explain how an individual could use the principles of training to develop their cardiovascular endurance over a 6-week period. And this is how I'd go about it. Now, I've always taught you to write 3 paragraphs, but I've also shown you examples where you might at some point want to just bring an introduction into your answer to set the kind of scene. So in this instance here, introduction, short paragraph stating you will use training principles to improve cardiovascular fitness. The most important aspect of this is progressive overload, okay, which I'll come on to shortly, using the fit theory to ensure progress is made. Okay, so going on to paragraph structure, I would do paragraph 1. I would look at the frequency, and I would talk about how often you would train. Okay, so obviously from week 1 to week 6, you may start with 2 runs a week, and each week you may build up to week 2, 3 runs. Okay, week 3 you might do a few more, bring a few more runs into it. So eventually by week 6, the final week before you do it, you should be at a stage where you are doing 3 runs a week. So frequency is how often you will train. You've also got to remember as well that you need some rest period within there as well. So the paragraph 1, I will talk about the first part of the fit theory is frequency, and that is how often you train. So in this instance of running, okay, week 1 you may do 2 runs a week. You may also do that for week 2, 2 runs a week, and then progressively overload your body by increasing the frequency you do your runs. The second paragraph is, for me, the most important paragraph here, and this is where you will gain the majority of your marks, and that is talking about the intensity. So the second part of the fit theory here. So the intensity refers to the intensity of the session. So that might be the pace you run at, okay, or the training zone which you work in. So for example, obviously running a 10k race, you would be working your aerobic training zone. However, you may talk about the importance of sometimes working your anaerobic training zone to develop cardiovascular fitness, because we know when we are training them zones, our body adapts over time to being working in them training zones. For example, alveoli increases, the vital capacity over time will increase, the VO2 max increases. So by training in the aerobic and anaerobic training zone at a good intensity will allow us to make adaptations to our cardiovascular system, which will benefit us when we come to run our 10k race. Okay, so again, you can also talk in there about intensity, about what's relevant to you. So someone who is 20 years old, okay, how do you work out the maximum heart rate? Well, we know it's 220 minus your age. So the maximum heart rate for someone who was 20 would be 200. And then you can talk about working in 60 to 80% of that. And then obviously 80 to 90% for your anaerobic training zone. So you can talk in there about the importance of intensity. And you can talk about how you can progressively overload that by working at stronger intensities the fitter you get and the longer you go into your training. Remember, 6 weeks is a relatively long time for someone who's quite fit. So the paragraph 2 is a really important paragraph where you can gain lots of marks. And the final paragraph is the type of training you will use, and it's important that you know different types of training. Now, firstly, the main training you will do is continuous training, which is exercising for a prolonged period of time, which is running. You will do running. To improve your running, you do running. But you may also talk about using fartlek training within your training program, which is where you will work between your aerobic and anaerobic training zone. And again, talk about the reasons why you do that. Again, it's about making adaptations over time to your body. So like I say, I would look at an introduction. Paragraph 1, talk about the frequency, how important it is that you train on a regular basis. Okay, training for a 10k run and running once a week will get you fitter or will get you fit. But in order to develop yourself to achieve a personal goal, you need to be able to run more often. So hope that's helped, and that will be due in on Friday.